All right, well, welcome everybody. Welcome to the Networking Masterclass for November. We missed you last month, but we hope you were able to join us in some of the other webinars that Citrix has provided, especially at the Citrix Cloud Summit, if you had that time and the opportunity to join us. Otherwise, thanks for making the time and being with us today. We have some great content for you, and our presenters have really gone, I feel, above and beyond to provide some really good, relevant details all around security. So what's happening today? So we're just getting started. If you're new to GoToWebinar or this platform isn't quite familiar, just a few things I want to mention before we get started on housekeeping. So if you can't hear me very well, and I've had this problem myself, sometimes the computer audio doesn't work as well as a phone call, and in other locations, a phone call doesn't work as well as computer audio. So if you're having trouble with the audio throughout the webinar, I invite you to go to the control panel and switch from either computer to phone or from phone to computer, whichever provides the best experience for you. Next, this is a live webinar, and this is something that we really strive to make different for you. So we really invite your participation throughout the webinar. As you see content from the presenters, we love it when you ask your questions and provide feedback. So if you'd kindly open up the Q&A control panel and provide us your feedback, or perhaps you heard something that you'd like a little more, us to go a little more deep on or expand on, feel free to ask your question. We'll try to make this and keep this webinar interactive for the next hour as we go through the content. Because the last thing what we want is for you just to have it go over your head and walk away saying, I wonder what that was all about, but it sounded really cool. We want you to get it, and we really get excited that, to share that experience when that happens. Finally, if you do need to step up and walk away, or perhaps you found some of the content amazing and exciting and you'd just like to share it with some of your colleagues, the session for today is being recorded, and we'll be sending a link following the webinar in email to all of the attendees so that you can come back and watch the webinar again. Perhaps there's some content that you'd like to revisit, or perhaps you'd just like to share it with somebody else. If you need to get up and walk away, fear not, you will not miss any of the content just by leaving your desk. So who's with us today? I'm your host, Dave Potter, for the Americas session, and joining us today are our guest presenters, Lena Yarovaya and Frank Bunger and Rupesh Upala. The team joining us today, we'll be talking all about Citrix Application Security, and in fact, that is our spotlight topic for today. So this is going to go deep. It's going to be a lot of information all around what we're doing with app security and what's brand new at Citrix in networking. To close things out, I'll be sharing a little bit about what's been happening for the past month in our Citrix news, and a little bit of view and then a sneak peek at what the topic is for next month. And then today we'll be having a prize giveaway. So if you stick around toward the end of the webinar, you have a chance to be eligible to win a prize. Now, the topic for today was actually something that was suggested by one of our attendees. And we love it when you submit ideas that you'd like to hear about, just to make the content more relevant for you and for us as well. So we invite you, if you have any ideas or any future topics that you'd like to see us cover in a new future networking masterclass, we invite you to submit your questions to the Q&A tab, or if you think about it later, perhaps something comes to your mind after watching the webinar today, you can always email us at networkingmasterclass@citrix.com. Now, I mentioned the prize giveaway for today. It's some pretty awesome Citrix swag. So if you pay attention throughout the content for the app security section in our spotlight, I'll be trying to pick an easy question from the content today. And for those with a US or Canada residence and mailing address, you will be eligible to win the prize. And so at the end of the webinar for the prize giveaway, I'll basically be asking a question from the content today, and the first person with the answer will be eligible to win the prize. So with that, I'd like to kick things and change gears and kick things over to our spotlight topic, all about application security. And joining us today is, first up will be Lena Yarovaya. So Lena, are you with us on microphone?
Yes, I am. Happy to be here. And
all right,
good
welcome,
afternoon,
Lena.
everyone. Thank you. And I'll make myself presenter, I guess.
Please do.
Share my screen. And I guess you can see my screen. Welcome everyone to our MasterClass, networking MasterClass, totally dedicated to Citrix Application Security. What are we going to talk about today? You can see agenda on a screen. We'll start with application security with Citrix ADC and ADM. Just would like to remind that Citrix ADC is not scalar. Citrix ADC is just a new name. And ADM is our application delivery management solution, our control analytics management plane for Citrix ADC. Old name is MAS. Then you can see CWAAP. And some of you probably wondering, what is it? That is our nearest cloud solution, Citrix Web Application and API Protection Service. We'll talk about what's new in WAF, Web Application Firewall, and bot management, with a lot of demos, by the way, on each and every step. The next one, machine learning security analytics on ADM, definitely with them as well. And we will talk about API security and specifically API discovery. We did cover API security a couple of webinars ago, and API discovery, it's what our new solution there that you will know more and see it today. Now, before we start, I would like to launch a poll, our first one, and ask you, what are application security challenges that you face today? And that is multi-select question. So select all that applies. Is it securing applications moving to cloud? Preventing data breach theft from your web applications or your APIs? Is it about just securing your APIs? Is it meeting compliance needs like PCI compliance? Or protecting your applications and APIs against bot attacks? So again, what are those application security challenges that you are facing today? We would love to know more from you. So to be able to streamline our content and demos and focus on what is really important for you. So about 40% voted now. Just would like to get it closer to 50. Let us know what are your application security challenges today. And we would love to know how Citrix solutions can help you there. Let me close the poll and share results with you. So the winner is preventing data breach theft from my web applications or API, and securing applications moving to cloud, and bot attacks. Great. Thank you. I'm hiding result. And let's start talking about application security with ADC and ADM. We'll start sharing with you our application security solutions, how our customers deploy our solutions, right? And when we talk about application security, it's all together: web application firewall, bot management, and API protection. Okay? Now,
Lena,
yes.
I'm so sorry to interject. Are you sharing your screen? Is it visible to everybody else? Slide?
I think so.
I can see, yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you.
At least I can see it on showing. Thank you. On the far left, you'll see number one deployment, the first deployment, not number one. With ADM, Application Delivery Management on-prem, that you can deploy in HA, high availability mode, or even add DR, disaster recovery. In each data center, you can have HA, right? And then you can have Citrix ADC, NetScalers, that with application security solutions in cloud or on-prem. Right? That is one kind of deployment, again, with ADM in every data center. Now, our most common one is with, as we call it, Meraki model. With Citrix ADM service, right, as a single pane of glass across all your deployments, whether they are on-prem, in public cloud, in private cloud, right? Altogether, you can see all of your deployment in Citrix ADM service and your ADC, right? Any form factor, whether it's ADC with web application firewall and bot management running on Google Cloud or running on Azure, AWS, or on-prem, right? Anywhere it's running, or our solution that is for Kubernetes, right? For microservices, any form factor altogether. And the latest and greatest would be CWAAP, Citrix Web Application and API Protection as Service. With no infrastructure for you to manage, and behind the scene, known Citrix ADC application security solution running in each and every POP. So all three solutions or deployment mod you can use today, and we will talk more about each one. Now, why would customer choose us for application and API security? Why Citrix? First of all, it's holistic, proven, and layer protection. When we talk about security, layered protection is one of the most important ones. You can see WAF, Web Application Firewall, bot management, API protection, TLS, just SSL, DDoS, analytics. You can layer across and you can layer within each and every solution. And all of them to protect any kind of application, whether it's web application or microservices application. And we have all possible certifications with that. ICSA Labs, PCI DSS, you name it. The real differentiator comes with faster journey to cloud. Every customer we talk to either already in a cloud or in a process moving there. And we would like to help you to move to cloud at your own speed when you are ready. And we're providing operational consistency with any form factor or cloud, right? Any Citrix ADC, it's always the same code base across. So when you go to cloud, right, when you move your configuration to cloud, it's always exactly the same one. And with single pane of glass with ADM, using, for example, style books there, with one click, you can move your configuration from on-prem to cloud. Or if you decide to go back, going back again from cloud back to on-prem. With our pooled capacity licensing, that is license portability across all your deployments. And again, across all form factors. Now, how can you enable SecOps at DevOps speed, right? We have integrated API protection and Swagger support that we did talk to you about a couple months ago, right? Now, for our microservices application or Kubernetes, we have ISTIA support and service mesh and all integration with open source. So for your north, south, and east-west traffic. You can have the same application security and consistent security posture across. And the last, not the least, we're built for compliance and governance. So again, talking about consistent security posture and comprehensive visibility, right, all across. Again, single platform for any cloud and for any deployment. Now, let's take a look at each and every of our application security solution. And we will start with Web Application Firewall, which is very mature solution, has been around over 10 years on the market. But during the last 18 months, right, we had so many innovations, so many new features there, and focus was how can we make it easy to deploy and how can we reduce false positive? If I just summarize focus there. As you know, probably many of you, that our web application firewall has hybrid security model. That is combination of positive security model with application behavior and negative security model that is protected with signatures. Now, let me touch upon each and every one. For signatures, we have threat detection team, and now our signature updates happening very frequently. And also, you can see not only snort signature converted, but you can see number of signatures created by Citrix as well. At one point, another point here is many of you probably using vulnerability scanners. And on Citrix ADC for Web Application Firewall, you can take the report from vulnerability scanner, and then we convert each and every vulnerability into signatures. And what's needed? Just converter. And we keep adding those converters so you can easily make your deployment. And the last one that we added was for Rapid7. Now, that was for negative security model. For positive security model, application behavior, right? We protect from 0 days attacks. But applications in real life, they are not 100% RFC compliant. So as you know, learning is required. And we do have dynamic learning, and we had it before. What changed? We added dynamic profiling that helps you automatically not only learn, but deploy, right, rules based on thresholds you define. That's one part of it. And there are many more new and exciting things that Frank will cover in what's new with WAF and bot. So bot management is relatively new. It's exactly 1 year ago when we implemented or added bot management to application security family. And we keep adding new features and functionalities for bot management to be able to protect any kind of bots, simple bots, moderate bots, sophisticated bots, right? And being able definitely understand, is it a good bot or is it a bad bot? And have different actions there. Our newest addition to application security family is API security. More and more applications have APIs. And how can we secure those APIs in a similar way we secure web applications? Adding WAF, Web Application Firewall, adding bot, rate limiting, authentication to your APIs. So all three, Web Application Firewall, Bot Management, API Protection, are as a part of application security on Citrix ADC. All that application security for web applications you can do or have for your microservices. If you have Kubernetes deployment, we can protect your applications, your microservices on ingress, north-south, or east-west traffic using Web Application Firewall, Bot Management, or API security. Next one, TLS offload and management, basically SSL offload. You probably know that Citrix ADC NetScaler has excellent SSL performance. What can you do here? What it's called service chaining. You can do SSL decryption on Citrix ADC and send it to IPSS, IDSS, DLPs, or even mirror for recording server. The last two, but the not least, it's all about analytics, right? Analytics come on ADM, Application Delivery Management, analytics for application security, security inside, bot inside, but what is more important and was added lately, our machine learning security analytics that can help protect your applications from those use cases that will not be possible without, and we'll do demos around all of that parts. Now, what are those Citrix differentiators? How are we different? What is that we do completely different and why are we better? When we're talking about holistic protection, and I did name it, WAF and bot and API, but what also matters here, performance. With half latency, we can deliver all those security solutions to you, our customers. Number two, one license, one Uconnect license that would cover all application security solutions on Citrix ADC. Security solutions, most of the customer deployments are fragmented. And if we can take away that fragmentation, even by 10-15%, we would be very happy because we do have consistent security posture. And just to remind you, every form factor, every cloud, it's always the same code based across that gives you consistency. And the last but not the least, it's all about analytics, AI, ML-driven analytics, right, on ADM as your single pane of glass for control, management, and analytics for Citrix ADC. And we can deliver better performance and lower latency because of our single pass architecture that is on Citrix ADC. With that, we would like to start talking about our newest solution, CWAAP, and I would like to invite Frank and make Frank presenter for that. Frank, you here?
Great. Thank you, Lena. Let me share my screen here. Great to see you all again. Happy to be here to chat with you about our CWAAP product. So CWAAP stands for Citrix Web App and API Protection. It is a cloud service. So it's comprised of an always-on DDoS mitigation service. So with a maximum capacity of 12 terabits, so significantly more DDoS capacity than the largest attacks recorded today. It includes our web app firewall, the same award-winning Citrix web app firewall that's part of the ADC platform or NetScaler platform is the underpinning of the CWAAP service. And in the near future, we will also be doing bot protection through it as well. So let's just talk briefly about how CWAAP works. So as a cloud service, any sort of origin point, whether it's a legitimate customer or a remote employee or an attacker on the internet, their traffic routes through CWAAP, where it gets scrubbed and then gets passed on to its destination. This destination could be anything. It can be a cloud service, a cloud application, cloud-hosted application, it can be an on-prem application, it can be a microservices application. It doesn't matter as long as it's accessible from the internet, basically. So the easiest way to do this is to use to change your DNS. So this is the fastest way to get value out of the service very quickly. So if your application on the right side here has a public IP address of 5.6.7.8, you will upload that application certificate to CWAAP and then have a DNS-A record pointing at CWAAP for the application. The traffic then enters through the service, gets scrubbed and passed on. We also optionally offer GRE tunnels to secure that scrubbed traffic. Generally, most people don't take advantage of it, but it is available. And what you do on your destination is also you set up your firewall or AWS rules or ACLs to permit traffic only from the CWAAP points of presence. So that way you're secure. In BGP, it's more or less the same concept, except that you're changing your BGP advertisement instead of DNS. And otherwise, the concepts are the same. And you will also need to have a minimum of Class C blocks. That's the last octet of as the minimum size for BGP. Takes a little bit longer to set up, but we do recommend this for your larger deployments. So right now, as of today, there are 14 points of presence across the globe. So anywhere that you are in the world, chances are you'll have low latency to access to any of these points of presence. With 14 POPs, that also means very high SLA. So the service is extremely robust and reliable with 14 points. Any cast routes an incoming user to the nearest point of presence at all times. So let's talk about one example of how a customer benefited from CWAAP recently. So this customer, they simulate defense war games essentially, and they experienced a very high DDoS attack of 1.2 terabits at its peak, sustained across 5 attack vectors for 24 hours from 287,000 source IPs. Pretty darn significant attack, and they used all the amplification methods that are the way to get the big numbers in DDoS right now. SSTP amplification, DNS amplification, CLDAP amplification. So it gave the attacker the big boost, but the customer was fully protected, and all services and websites were running business as usual. Really great example. We have a few others here that I won't talk over in the interest of time, but one to point this one out. So also bear in mind, this is always on DDoS. So it's not that, it's on demand, it responds, God forbid if you're attacked, it is always on. So you always are protected. This is a screenshot of what the dashboard looks like, and Lena will shortly walk you through a demo as well. So we'll see more about that. And one thing I'd like to point out, so CWAAP service versus our ADC or NetScaler WAAP. So generally speaking, our ADC or NetScaler WAAP will receive new features first, and CWAAP will receive the new features a little bit later. And the reason for this is just because the ADC WAAP is where the initial deployment and investment goes to. So as such, the features are largely the same. On the CWAAP service, we don't yet have JSON protections. Our ADM tie-in or MAS tie-in, so the Citrix product for centralized analytics and reporting, is not there because CWAAP has its own analytics. And our advanced bot protections and AI ML capabilities are not yet available in the CWAAP service. These are things that are coming, but they are not there today. So here's a screenshot of some sample logs, and Lena will walk you through this shortly. There's a great, easy to read dashboard and event system on CWAAP in which you can see the action on the left, this timestamp, of course, source IP with a country flag, so geolocated. You can also dive into those source IP to see what else was coming from that source IP. You can see the site or application affected. And you can, of course, see the same logging that you're familiar with from Citrix CWAAP. With that, I'll hand it back over to Ms. Lena for a short demo.
Thank you. Let me make myself presenter again. Hope you can see my screen.
Looks
And
good.
that looks good. And it's a new updated one, right? For those of you, some of you who saw it before, probably not too many of you. That is our Citrix web application and API protection portal. So what you see here, right, is the main dashboard. And you see quick summary of incoming traffic, right? Let me show you. Inbound, outbound, mitigated, right? What does it mean outbound? That's the one that goes to your application. And mitigated, you see -1 red, that what we stopped. Those are attacks that we stopped. And you can see it by 1 hour, 3 hours, 30 days, right? Whatever you would like to see. Now let's scroll and see more interesting parts. You can see our data centers, our nodes across, like you can see Dallas, Frankfurt, Tokyo, all of them. And you can see where clients are coming from, right? That is a landing page. And you understand that is demo. And you can see attack is in progress. And when you click here, you can see all the details of the attack in progress. So what do you see? Again, it's ongoing one. It has start time, no end time. And you can see again details. And what's more important, all those countermeasures that were taken, right, on DDoS. Now, when you click on it, you can also see details on % of total for each countermeasure here, right? That was for DOS, right? What about WAF part? When you look at WAF attacks, and this one has our WAF attacks, right? When I click here, right, I also should get an event for, as you see, I get it for WAF. What does it mean, by the way, event? When you roll up number of incidents, security incidents in one, right? That what was highlighted by Gartner, right? The requirement to roll up individual incidents together as event. So that's what you can see here. And again, when you click on details, you can see more. It was 80% SQL, 20% of field consistency here, right? Now, let's look in more details on web application firewall and look at violation logs. What can I see here? Action is highlighted with green and red, right? You can see all the details and reasons, right? Why did we decide it was violation? For example, in this case, SQL injection violation. And all logs can be easily exported, right? And different formats are supported, including PDF. Basically, everything we do on this portal, you can do with APIs, right, behind the scene, if you're interested. Now, another cool thing here, definitely you can expand and see more details on attacker. And also you can click on IP and see it on the map, hopefully, right, with all IP intelligence that coming here. Now, you can see yourself as a target from violation types and domain targets, or what's more interesting, URL path. When you look at your applications, right, and look at, again, you can look at 1 hour, a different interval, right? So you can see what assets here, what URL were targeted, and create your policies or secure your application, right, the way you need to do based on attack vectors here. You can also look at geolocation or from geolocation standpoint, and you can do it by country or continents, right? And you can see where attackers coming from. And when you look at it, you can see when you do configuration with one click, you can decide, okay, I would like to stop those from Russia, for example, or any other country that you don't think should be users coming in your application. Let's see how simple it is to create configuration. When you go to policies here, right, for web application firewall, and you look at edit, right, and you can see all the countermeasures at WASP top 10, right, and you can see also network control. I wanted to show you how simple it is to go with countries. You just select country and that's it. So you can add trusted sources for your learning. You can set up alert. You can add more policies, and you can add those WASP top 10s for WAF, or you can add signatures if you wish. So full hybrid security model here with positive security model and signatures. And you can see with just a couple clicks, you can change your configuration and say save. And you can be up and ready in a couple minutes. So that was our CWAAP. And before I give it back to Frank, I would like to run another poll. And that is about what technologies, and it's not about Citrix technologies, what security technologies, application security technologies have you deployed today? And select one or more of following. Do you have web application firewall? Do you have bot management, API gateway, DDoS, or none? And again, it's not about Citrix solution. It's how you protect your applications today. What is your application security solution today? Do you have web application firewall in place? Do you have bot management, API gateway, DDoS, or none? What are those solutions today? So we would like to know, where are you focusing today? What's important for you and for your deployments? So 39% voted. I'll just give it a couple seconds. Hopefully more people will vote, and we'll close the poll and share results with you. Most of you have web application firewall, and the second one is DDoS. Okay, I'll hide result. And one more for now. What security deployment mods are you using for those application security solutions? Do you have your solutions on-prem? Do you have hybrid mode, some on-prem, some in cloud? Do you have complete cloud service? Or, I don't know, right? So we just would like to know about your application security solutions. Are they mostly on-prem? Are they hybrid? Are they totally cloud services? Or you don't know about those? So please share with us so we know better. Okay, closing the poll now and sharing the result with you. So hybrid is a winner, some on-prem, some in cloud, followed by on-prem. Thank you so much for sharing with us. And with that, Frank, I'll make you presenter again to talk about what's new
Great.
And WAF
Thank
and
you,
bot.
Lena. All right, so let's take a few minutes to talk about some of the new stuff. So that was our web firewall and DDoS service with bots coming soon. So now let's talk about the ADC or NetScaler platform, as many of you know it. So first off, let's talk about bots. So on the bot front, I want to give you guys an example of a customer. It's a European shipping company that's using our bot feature on ADC and using only a small portion of the features available. So even using just 3 of the bot features, they got 27% block of traffic. So that tells you, the amount of bots that were hitting them was crazy. And this is applications and APIs. So 27% might sound high, but guess what? In that middle cloud there, depending on who you ask, the analysts and various industry people say anywhere from 25 to 50% of all internet traffic is bots. So tremendous volume as bots. And when people say bots, what they mean is any form of automation. So it can be somebody running a curl script from their computer or their Linux or desktop or their Mac. It can also be, what we really think as sophisticated botnets. So bots is really a broad category of traffic, and it really boils down to something that's automated in some form and not driven by a human using a browser or a mobile browser. So not surprisingly, the bot problem is different by industry, and also not surprisingly, finance gets hit hard because of the good fun in financial fraud that's available for attackers. So the way that we think of bots at Citrix is roughly in 3 categories. So simple, moderate, and more sophisticated bots. So simple bots are those that are easily identifiable by IP address, even if they're from their IPs change frequently. They're identifiable through headers or script tags. And these tend to be the greatest volume of bots. And they also tend to be the lowest risk of bots overall in terms of the amount of trouble that they can cause. The next class of bots we consider moderate bots. These are bots that try to look more human by eluding some of the capabilities of simple bots protections. And these are ones where you need a little bit more advanced capabilities, and these are more medium volume and medium risk. So the most sophisticated set of bots, we're looking at the most kind of sneaky and sophisticated of attacks that are lowest in volume but are the highest risk. These are the types of attacks that are like account takeover, right? Somebody's trying to break into a privileged account and cause trouble. So let's talk through some of the protections that the ADC bot management capabilities can give you. So on the simple bot front, we have our bot signatures, which are, as of today, roughly 3,700 signatures that are cultivated from our threat research team, as well as an automated source I'll talk more about later. And this looks for IP address, origin, domain, and user agent. It also helps you identify good bots, because most people want to allow Google search crawler on their site, but they might not want to allow everything else, right? So it's important to delineate between good and bad bots. Our IP reputation feature is also very powerful. So it has at any given moment on the order of 5 million IP addresses. It updates every 5 minutes. So it immediately takes away a lot of known bad on the internet. It can also rate limit traffic. So this is a global catch-all umbrella for a given resource, say a particular URL or application you want to use. You can throttle traffic to that site. So say that, you're being DDoSed or DOSed in some form. They're also customizable blacklist and whitelist. So this is for you as a user to determine whether or not you want to whitelist certain IP ranges or origin domains, or blacklist certain IP ranges or domains. And last but not least, our bot trap. So this, what the bot trap does is it injects a 1 pixel image link in every page. So any human browser is not going to see or click that link, but automation will. So that will fall into the bot trap. So there's a lot of protections here in the simple front, and the reason is because that's the highest volume by far. There's a lot of value in turning these on. There's also low risk in turning these on because they tend to be more black and white, whether or not something is a bot. It tends to be more clear. So as we go up the ladder to medium bots, now we need to look at more advanced protections like our device fingerprint. So this injects JavaScript into the page, and we evaluate 34 properties that are returned from that JavaScript to decide whether or not something is a bot. And what we look for there is weird combinations or invalid combinations. Let's say the CPU type is undefined, or the browser type is something unusual, or the screen resolution is also an odd format or 0, then you know it's not a human browser. So this is another one of the more advanced mechanisms. And also CAPTCHA, a common action that I think we're all familiar with. So those CAPTCHAs are hosted on the ADC today. And then the most sophisticated attacks, these are the most dangerous ones because they tend to be more focused, and they tend to be trying to break into accounts, like an account takeover, or creating fake accounts, grabbing inventory, hoarding it so that other customers cannot have it, trying to do password stuffing or password spraying attacks. So these are dangerous attacks, and this is where you need more sophisticated measures. We have statistical capabilities that look at things like moving averages and how far away a traffic pattern is from its standard, from its typical profile in standard deviations. We also have heuristical capabilities that look at what's the normal performance metric for an application and compare against that. We also have our machine learning capabilities. So this is where the real value comes in for the most sophisticated attacks. So we've talked over a few of these features. So I'd like to highlight a few of the attack vectors on the left here in this slide. So this is just one small sample. Remember, bots are wide-ranging. So these are the most common complaints we hear from our customers: content scraping. I don't want my content on my website scraped, copied, or used in some other form. I don't want DDoS attacks, whether layer 7 or layer 3, right? Account takeover, fake account creation, we just talked about that. Ad fraud, this is a huge problem for the ad industry. They make money when people click on their ads. So when there is fraudulent clicking on ads, the people paying for the ads get upset because they don't want to pay for non-legitimate ads. Credit card stuffing and inventory hoarding. So people trying to find legitimate combinations of credit card numbers, or putting in lists of what they think are legitimate credit card numbers to find a valid credit card numbers and then selling that or using it maliciously. Inventory hoarding is a problem for anything from airlines to hotels to e-commerce sites. They don't want inventory held up so other customers cannot have it. So on the right, we've talked about how some of these features can mitigate, and I'll talk a little bit more in depth about these shortly as well. So actions available. So there's generally 5 classes of actions available to mitigate bots. So many choices. So one is you can rate limit. And the rate limit might be a good choice if you're not sure whether something is a bot or you're just getting started on it. Second choice is redirect. So you can redirect anywhere you want, including your own pages, or let's say some sort of black hole page, or for that matter, a honeypot. Maybe you want to redirect those bots to fake content. You can also silently drop or reset for bot traffic. So generally, bot traffic reset generally works a little bit better, but drop is also a common mechanism. And you can also just log. So let's say you want to experiment with the bot feature, but you're not sure and just want to see how it goes. So flip on just log only mode, and no other action happens, and you can see what comes in and appears in your logging. And last but not least, you can of course use a CAPTCHA. All right, and with that, let's do just a short demo of bots with Lena again.
Thank you. We'll do the demo. Show my screen. I hope you can see my screen now, right? So let's see bot mitigation in action. So all this comprehensive bot protection from different kind of bot that Frank was talking about, I would like you to see in action. We talk about different mitigations, right? And actions, including honeypot, including captcha, including misdirection. Just want to show you all that in a demo. And to start, let's see how simple it is to configure protection. For IP reputation that you see here, for example, it's just basically one click. You select category, right? And in this case, we're selecting just one, and that's it, you're done. And the same way, basically, it would be done for any of those other protections. Now let's see, how can you get all the visibility with ADM, right? On ADM, when you go to bot insight, and bot insight is analytics tool for bot management, you can see your application. My application here is Portal Finance. Okay? So let's see, what do we have here? How we can see different attacks, different categories of bot that were detected by bot management. So what do you see here? Invalid device fingerprinting, right? Blacklist, rate limit, and crawler that was defined by signatures. So let's look more or do deep dive in one of them. So for example, for blacklist, and let's expand that, and you can see here, right, in this example, right, a country code was set to Russia, and you can see it's coming from Moscow, and all the detail of the request here, request that got blocked, right? So action was dropped here, and category is blacklist, okay? Now let's see how many requests, you detect, for example, with device fingerprint. When you get to device fingerprint, you can see how many got logged and blocked if you set it to block, right? Now, let's take a look at good bots as well. We did talk about it, that we can detect bad bots and good bots. Now, what about good bots? It's all about resource consumption here. Now, look, we say good bot, right? And we detect it with whitelist and signature as well. And you can see all the details of resource consumption. So based on that, you can make decision which one or ones you would like to stop, because it's a good bot. So action taken right now, just logging it. From security point of view, it's a good one. It's all about your resources, right? Now, Frank was talking about CAPTCHA, right, as another action. So let's see what CAPTCHA does. How can it help you? So what does it do? It helps to determine if client indeed is a human or bot. So basically, we enhance device fingerprinting, right, adding CAPTCHA challenge as just another mitigation action. So you can see bot detection as device fingerprint. And you can see here our simple CAPTCHA here. So if CAPTCHA is not received, or when it's incorrect, the request will be stopped for the configured period. Now let's take a look at another attack, account takeover attack, and we'll show you on live demo, it just to see what would attacker do and what does it mean, so give you full picture, right? When attacker tries to get into account, see, typing again and again, right? Username, password, you can see it here. With credential stuffing and password spraying, admin will be alerted about possible attack. And when you log in into the dashboard and navigate to event, you can see account takeover took place, right? And you can see all the details here. Right? Now you can always see all those IP addresses that attack was coming from, and you can put them on a blacklist as well. And now back to Frank to talk about what's new in bot management. Frank, make your presenter now.
Great, thanks. Okay, so on the bot front, a lot of new good stuff. So one of the things we'd like to talk about first is our mobile SDK. So if you're, imagine you are a bank or any other larger customer, and you have an application that you have for your users. So when a customer starts to use that application, so with general bot protections, they might be flagged as a bot. The purpose, either that or you just have to disable it or use them partially. So the purpose of the SDK is to be able to use the most advanced protections for your mobile endpoints, as well as still leverage the more basic ones. So things like the IP rep bot signatures, those ones you don't really need an SDK for, because they operate primarily in layer 3 land, where you're looking primarily at origin domain or user agent strengths. It's a little bit deeper in the stack. But when you start to think about our device fingerprinting capabilities or AI ML capabilities, that's where the SDK comes into play, because customers still want to be able to protect their API endpoints while at the same time allowing mobile apps to function seamlessly. So we have just recently finished this, so now it is available for both Android and iOS. So for bot signatures, I want to highlight also that our bot signatures so typically they're made by our threat research team, and they are continuing to be made by our threat research team. But we have now also added an additional data source to bot signatures, and that's the Citrix ITM product. This is all internal under the hood. Just want to show you how we're improving the fidelity of it. So this came in through our Citrix acquisition, and it consists of a network across the internet of thousands of sensors that are looking for odd behavior and strange behavior. So that data from Citrix now feeds into our bot signatures. So for you as an end customer, there's no difference. You still get your bot signature updates through the auto update mechanism, and it occurs once every 2 weeks with any more critical updates happening in between. Just want to highlight that we're continuing to add value in addition to the great work that our threat research team is already doing. So on the bot trap front, this is an exciting one because it also makes our bot trap able to catch a little bit more sophisticated bots, so I would say the medium tier of bots. So by default, the bot trap is a flat static URL. So any reasonably sophisticated attacker will quickly realize that and make sure that they script their bots to not touch that URL, right? So now what we introduce is a feature where those URLs are randomizing and in an unpredictable fashion, so that you can no longer just put 1 or 2 URLs in and say, okay, just don't touch these URLs and continue to scrape or inventory hoard or whatever you're doing. So this improves the fidelity of the bot trap to catch bots, and also captures the more sophisticated bots. And you can also customize this time interval to make it as unpredictable as possible. So with that, let's move on to WAF. So also a lot of new stuff in WAF we'd like to point out. So again, we're talking about the world of ADC WAF or NetScaler WAF right now. I want to point out how one of our healthcare customers is benefiting from our WAF. And in particular, this customer, so they were challenged to transform their online enrollment and claims system. But the guidance from the higher ups was to make this a little bit more robust of a design, and to also have a cloud element to it as well. So not just the old on-prem world or a VPX, a virtual machine locally, but also to have a virtual machine in the cloud. So the company architects, they liked what they saw with Citrix App Security, and they had already used our WAF in the past. But what they really liked was that when they started to use our WAF in the AWS and Azure cloud, that the platform, the ADC platform, was exactly the same. So it made it extremely easy for them to straddle the hybrid multi-cloud world of on-prem and cloud, when the platform, the underpinning platform, was exactly the same. So WAF was exactly the same, bot was exactly the same. The other NetScaler features that people know and love, like load balancing and SSL, were exactly the same. That made it also from a security point of view easy to maintain a consistent security posture because they weren't juggling multiple tools. They weren't trying to throw in Azure WAF or AWS WAF. They got a single consolidated platform, and it's all bridged under one license, right? So the premium license in Citrix includes security features. There's no nickel and diming there. And last but not least, they also use the Citrix ADM or MAS product, our centralized reporting product, for analytics and licensing. So that product is becoming more and more powerful over time as we start to use it more and more like a controller. Okay, so let's talk briefly about new features, and then we'll move on. So one of the things we're really excited about on our next-gen WAF push is the concept of centralizing our WAF learning. So we've had learning capabilities on our WAF for many, many years now. But what we've done now is we've centralized it into our ADM service, our cloud service. And the reason is because typically you would have to manage your learned rules across multiple ADCs. And it's manageable because you can do it through style books or through the API. But it's not as easy to use as what we've done now. So we've now made a single UI wherein you can manage, whether it's one ADC or hundreds of ADCs, a single pane of glass to manage all your learned rules. So very easy to maintain consistent security posture. So if you think of the before model, on the left here, the single admin would have to interact with the many ADCs or NetScalers to configure learning, and then that would report to ADM. Now in this new model, the single admin goes to just the ADM, where the centralized learning engine is located, and they can use that to configure all their ADCs while at the same time getting that data fed back to them. The same analytics and reporting that you always get from ADM is fed back. So a really powerful feature and something that we don't think our competitors are doing very well. So we're really happy with this. So on I also want to put in a brief reminder here on using the ADC platform in the cloud. So our WAF and bot features and security capabilities in the cloud are the same powerful ones you have on-prem, as I spoke about earlier. And most importantly, from a business point of view, they're going to cost you less than using the native tools on those platforms. And it gives you that single consolidated platform to use many features at once without having to peck around in 5, 10 different tools. So it gives you less network bloat and less network cost. You need less infrastructure to run, less VMs to run in the cloud where you're getting metered by the hour. And most importantly, as I mentioned before, we're including this all in the premium license, right? So it's a simple model and where you can easily see the cost benefit trade-off and see the benefit of using our platform in the cloud. This applies also for GCP, by the way, not just Azure and AWS. Same concept in GCP. All right, and with that, we are through with the WAF and bot section, so I will hand it back to Ms. Lena.
Thank you. One more poll before I go to ML Security Analytics. So one more question to ask you, and Frank was just talking about cloud. So question is, do you have applications deployed in one of these public clouds? Again, you can select one or more, and answers are Azure, AWS, GCP, other, not sure. Again, do you have applications deployed in one of these public clouds? Azure, AWS, Google Cloud Platform, other, not sure. 39% voted, 40% voted. Okay, let's wait for a second. Again, we would love to know about your applications in public cloud, whether you deploy in public cloud, and if so, which one is the most popular. So closing poll now, and let me share results. Azure is the most popular one, 69%. Thank you. hiding results now and going back to a couple slides here on machine learning security analytics with ADM. As Frank was talking about bot management, for example, right? For sophisticated or advanced bot attacks, you do need machine learning to be able to detect those. Now, let's take a look. What behavior-based violation we're detecting today and what is coming. And when we're talking about ML, security analytics, it's all across bot and WAF. Let's take a look at few use cases that we can cover, and we'll show you a couple ones. It can be excessive client connections. If you suddenly get many more clients that you usually have for your application, or it can be a lot of upload or download for your application. We'll look again at account takeover, right? And on a live system, you can see web scanning in action. Someone is scanning your website, right? Now for WAF violations, I would highlight excessive unique IPs or even unique by geography. Let's say no one from that geolocation ever accessed your application and suddenly you have a spike, right? Which is very unusual. We can detect it and highlight it to you. Now, what is coming? Content scraping detection, you will see very soon, and the other ones will follow. Now, it is very simple to start with. You do need ADM service, Application Delivery Management, our control management analytic plane as service. You do need that. For your ADC, you need it to be with premium license and version 13.0, right? And you do need ADM license for those applications. Metric collector is usually on by default. So just make sure it was not disabled. And you can see all the details in Citrix docs. Now, to enable, it is really one click. You just go to enable analytics for your application and select Web Insight. And with that, advanced security analytics will get pre-selected for you. That's all you need to do there. Now, just want to highlight a bit, just an example of web site scanning detection, right? When we say ML, that is model behind it. What does it mean? So you need to train it. What does it mean for you, right? You need to train that model. And that requires some time. So in most cases, it's about 2 weeks. So to model, to understand your data. And then model will start working for you. It does updates daily, so it won't stop training itself. It will, and your anomaly detection happens hourly, right? So you train it for 2 weeks, and then it would work for you. So now let's see, how does it work? All those ML analytics in our application delivery management. When you log in Citrix Cloud for ADM, if you go to Analytics and under Security Violations, and by the way, when Frank was talking about Web Application Firewall Learning, it's also here. We talk about what's new, it's already out. You can start using it right away. Now, for security violations, you can see your applications overview, right? Your applications all together with number of violations across WAF and bot. That is application overview. Then if you go for all violations, then where you see network, bot, and WAF, 3 buckets. I would like to start with network just to show you all those network violations that you can see. And by the way, NetScaler, Citrix ADC, was able to mitigate those for years. You just, as a customer, you did not have all that visibility. You can see for most of them, no further action required because Citrix ADC already mitigated the attack for most of them, but you have full visibility across all your ADCs. Again, whether they are in cloud or on-prem, as most of you said, you have hybrid deployment. So with ADM service, you can see all your application together and all your fleet together and see security violations in one place together. Now let's take a look at bot ML violations. And I did show you recording for account takeover. Let's see it live. So again, account takeover attack, right? What does it include? Credential stuffing or password spraying. So what happens when there are a lot of failed login? What does it mean, a lot? It means a lot for your application because it's always some. People do mistype their password. It's common, but as model learns your application for some time, it does understand what is normal for your app. Now, you can see in black total request coming. You can see failed login, successful login, and you can see cannot see too much. So yeah, you can zoom in and can see more, and you can even zoom in more and see each and individual attack for right total request, failed login, successful login. Why did we decide so? And we can click on like those to get those IPs, and we can also export them in CSV format, right? And for example, import in a style book, right? And stop them at once or put them on a blacklist. So that was account takeover, just one of them. Excessive client connection, just want to show all of them working for you. With excessive client connection, again, we learn your application, right? The name talks for itself, right? When you have abnormally high number of clients, right, for your application. As we learn your app, we understand, and that is fuzzy area at the very end, right? What's a normal range? So fuzzy area, normal range. And when we have client connecting to your app outside normal range, that when we say violation detected, and we just say, right, how many of those? Right? And another one, why a website scanning. Website scanners and how we detect those. Again, we detect those with models, and we can see if someone tried to crawl your entire website, right? And we can detect that. We can detect and flag, and you can see more details. And it's interesting that together with bot mitigation, you can do smarter decision altogether because you can see that was overall good bot. Good bot by signatures overall. But that good bot you can see does crawling or website scanning. So you can mark it as web scanner and you can stop it altogether across all of your applications. So you detect it for one app and you can stop it across all applications. So there are more definitely machine learning, even for security, as you saw, analytics. And we will be happy to help you to answer all your questions, enable all of them for ADM. Ask us, we're over there. And with that, I will invite Rupesh to talk about API security and API discovery. Rupesh, you there?
Yes. Hi, Lina. Thank you for the excellent discussion on bot and WAF. The last time can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can hear you. You can share your screen now.
Okay. Hi, hi everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. So the last time we discussed API Gateway, we reviewed how to onboard APIs through a Swagger specification file. Right? Today, we will review API Discovery, but before we do that, here is an example of a real-world customer use case for a successful API Gateway, right? Deployment. So here's an example of a global telecom company was in the middle of their journey to the cloud, but was running into issues securing their APIs in the cloud, right? With Citrix ADC acting as an API gateway, they were able to maintain a consistent security posture. In addition, they were also able to deploy a layered protection due to integrations with WAF and bot. And also, finally, due to single pass architecture, they were able to significantly reduce response times for their APIs and increase performance. So when you talk about API discovery, there are three primary focus areas. Right? The first is inventory of the APIs, which creates a list of your unknown API endpoints. The second is to monitor the endpoints. And the third is to secure the endpoints. So today, we will be discussing and reviewing the inventory aspect of API discovery. It's a very common use case where a developer accidentally exposes an API endpoint, right? This could be a sensitive endpoint, such as the one that's handling financial transactions, or which could be processing PII data, right? So what the API discovery solution does is to discover all of such API endpoints and create an inventory of all of these unknown endpoints. You can also track the methods used by the APIs, number of requests, authentication failures, or whether there was or whether the API was found in a specification file. With that, let's just dive into the demo. So first, we navigate to the deployment. So this is the same deployment that you get after onboarding an API specification file. The first thing you need to do is navigate to the deployment section and ensure that analytics is enabled, right? Since the data that feeds into the API discovery solution is based on analytics, we need to make sure that the web insights data and security insights data is selected and enabled. So once that process is completed, clicking on API discovery brings you to the screen where it shows you the discovered endpoints. Here to the top right, the drop-down enables you to change the time frame associated with the discovery process. For example, if you only want to base that data in the past 1 hour, this drop-down allows you to do that. So in this example, what we're seeing is you're seeing two API endpoints. While the first API endpoint listed was found in the API specification file, the second API is a newly discovered endpoint, right? So what's interesting in this example is that the second API is based entirely on an automated process. This endpoint was not defined in the API specification file. There's also a lot of other interesting information available. You can see the HTTP method used by the API endpoint. You can also use the screen to find out which are your most accessed API endpoints based on the number of requests. If there are any authentication failures, those can be easily tracked as well. In the future, what we plan to do is enable security policies using a single click from the screen. A green mark here indicates that the endpoint is part of the API specification file, while a red cross indicates that the endpoint is not found in the API specification file. So clicking on the endpoint itself takes you to the analytics associated with that unique API endpoint. Right? Here, the analytics screen shows you a split of the performance-based analytics and security analytics. So while you see a summary view in the API discovery, what you get in this analytics view is a more comprehensive overview of a metrics associated with that API endpoint. For example, what you're seeing here is the distribution of the time-wise distribution of the authentication failures as opposed to the summary view in the API discovery window. You can also see other interesting metrics associated with security and performance associated with that specific endpoint. With that, I will hand it back to Lena for a question.
Thank you very much, Rupesh. Really great demo and very important API discovery, right? Where you can see those APIs that not a part of your definition, just trade ones, and secure them. Now, I would like to launch the last poll. Make presenter, okay, the last poll, and ask you what security solution are you interested in? So what Citrix application security solution would you be interested in to know more about? And you can select one or more of the following. First one is our CWAAP, Citrix Web Application and API Protection. Our new service, CWAAP, is first, then bot management, web application firewall, API security, API discovery. That's what Rupesh just demoed you with API discovery. And the last, not the least, machine learning security analytics. Let us know which one or ones would you like to know more. Again, the first one, CWAAP. I know it's a new one. Probably many of you, first time you heard that CWAAP, Citrix Web Application and API Protection. Bot management, web application firewall, API security, machine learning security analytics. So about 35% voted. Would love to get it at least closer to 50 to close the poll. Help us there. Let us know what are those our Citrix application security solution you would be interested in. So we know more next time where to focus our attention. So it would be more interesting, beneficial for you. Okay, thank you. Close the poll and share results. So 66% with CWAAP, our new solution, and 61% with web application firewall. Thanks a lot. And with that, Dave, all yours.
All right, thanks so much, Lena. That was very powerful, very impressive, lots of demos, and we got a lot of questions that came throughout your presentation. So a lot of interaction there, and clearly everyone is understanding the content and seeing the value.
Thank
so with
you.
that,
That's very important. Thank you, Dave.
Absolutely. Thanks, Lena. If you wouldn't mind sticking around to answer any of the lingering questions that we get, be much appreciated. All right, so with that, we're gonna go ahead and turn the corner now, and I'm gonna talk to you a little bit about what's happened recently here at Citrix in the networking field, and what we'll be doing coming up for our next networking masterclass, as well as have the prize giveaway. So I just want to call attention to some of the more recent blogs in the past few weeks that really innovate, they really call attention to some of the unique ways that Citrix provides enhanced security and delivery of applications in a very dynamic field. So if you're a regular for the Networking Masterclass, you've probably heard our cloud native networking content where we introduced the CPX and the CIC, or the Citrix Ingress Controller. In this blog, there's a little bit of a catch when using non-Citrix controllers, in that if you want to do any kind of advanced routing for your microservice applications, you're pretty much limited to just the name of the host. When it comes to the URL, or perhaps a query parameter or some kind of HTTP header, you can't use that as a way to do any advanced routing unless you use something like the Citrix Ingress Controller. So more recently, we have a blog to talk about what we do specifically to expose the rest of the HTTP header to you and your application, making it possible to do advanced content routing within your microservices and Kubernetes environments when using the CIC. Next up, we have an interesting feature enhancement with the Citrix Gateway portal. Now, if you use Citrix Gateway, I know a lot of people are using the gateway to enable remote access for their employees. If you're one of those people and you're looking to further customize the content on the gateway, just know that it's possible to actually change the language and have that done in a supported way. So when you go and upgrade the gateway, you no longer have to do it on your own and then risk losing that customization. So we've introduced support for changing the language on the gateway, making it possible for you to support remote login services in a local native language, especially relevant if you're serving gateway services amongst multiple regions. Next up, we know that you're deploying the ADC in public cloud. First is this solution on AWS, and coming soon in Azure is the ability to deploy the Citrix ADC for internal applications. So we realize that not everyone wants an application to be publicly available. In fact, you may be using a gateway, Citrix Gateway, to secure your internal services, whether they're hosted on-prem or in the cloud. So we have a new capability for the Citrix ADC when deploying HA. Previously, our HA mechanism in AWS required to have an external IP address be configured for your services, and we would just fail that or reassociate that external IP to the passive device when transitioning to active. With this enhancement, we can now do this for an internal address, which makes it a lot easier. Say you don't need every application to be out there and you want to protect it with some HA with our VPXs in AWS, then we have a new solution available for that. Next up is all about SASE. And what does SASE mean? That's our Secure Access Services Edge. So along with providing remote access is probably having your services run on-prem and in the cloud. And you probably need an optimal way to deliver those services and ensure quality, so that, say, if the application itself on-prem is making a call out to the cloud, you probably want to ensure that that connection is as fast as possible, and maybe even deprecate or lower the priority of your users so that the backend services can get the content in order to render it to their users. And that would be a perfect case for applying something on the edge for Citrix services here. So in this blog, Shalon talks about why this is important to you. It's not just about using SD-WAN to optimize your WAN traffic, but now it's also about using it to optimize the delivery of the services from your edge. And your edge would be on-prem and now in the cloud in multiple locations. So I invite you to check that out and see what we're doing on the SD-WAN. Which brings me to my next point, which is our next and upcoming networking masterclass in the second week of December. So please join us next month for a session all about SD-WAN, and we're going to go deep on SASE, or Secure Access Services on the Edge. So if you're interested, or perhaps you're already an SD-WAN customer and you're looking to take greater advantage and control of delivery of your services where you have everywhere that you have an edge, I invite you to join us next December for a big topic on SD-WAN and SASE. So if you're interested in some of the content from today, the demos that you saw, these demos are actually available on YouTube in many cases. So if you're interested in checking these out, perhaps the recording is good for you, but maybe you just want to take a bite-sized video with you and maybe even bookmark it. I invite you to go to YouTube, search for Citrix TV. If you go under the playlists, there's one specifically dedicated to the content you saw today in networking. Or you can just click the URL, or if you have a camera with a QR scanner, you could scan that URL right on the page that's on your screen right now and go to that and bookmark that so that you always get the latest and newest videos that we share, all on the greatest things with Citrix networking. All right, so here's the great part where I get to give back to you guys for hanging out with us and sticking around the whole time. So now I'm going to ask a question from today's content, and the way this works is the person who provides the answer first into the Q&A panel will win the prize. Now there's some restrictions here with the giveaway, and first it's that I ask that you have an address in the US or Canada because we can only send this domestically. And the next is, if you've won the prize in the most recent 6 months, I just ask if you kindly hold back. Still, we love your participation, and perhaps we'd love to see you give an answer, but just let's try to give the opportunity to as many people as possible. So with that, I think this should be an easy one. It was something that was puzzling my mind at the beginning, and it became much clearer throughout the webinar today. But I'm going to go ahead and ask it anyway, just to see who is paying attention. So in the section for bot management, Frank's mentioned 2 types of bots. What I'm looking for is the specific type of bot that is one that you would want to allow access to protected content. So if you guys could go ahead and fill out the Q&A panel, I'm looking for the perfect answer. And it looks like we do have an answer from Mr. Dave B. So Mr. Dave B, congrats, you are the eligible winner for the Citrix prize today. And the answer that you provided is a good bot. That's right. So you have both a good bot and a bad bot. And these are 2 categories that we provide in ADM service when looking at and trying to understand who's accessing your content. And a reason why you may want to have a bot that's good, perhaps you want somebody to be able to scrape your services and to be able to provide relevant search engine content so that people can find the product and the information that you have online. And, of course, a bad bot would be someone who's abusing your site or perhaps using it so much extensively that, you can't serve up the content equally to everyone. All right, so with that, congrats, Dave B. We will follow up with you after the webinar to give you the Citrix swag. And with that, that brings us to the end of another great networking masterclass. So it remains only to thank our fantastic crew of presenters. Thanks, Lena, Frank, and Rupesh for your time and for sharing with us today. And of course, thank you to you, our audience, for sticking around and making this so much fun with your questions. I'm Dave, and until next month, goodbye.